You are watching a documentary on the Underground Railroad. During the 1780s, a secret network that could help slaves escape to freedom was established. This network is known as the Underground Railroad. This network helped thousands of slaves escape to northern states and Canada. Contrary to popular belief, this railroad did not consist of a train or tracks. It was made up of routes and stations that aided these runaway slaves. These stations included barns, houses, or anywhere slaves could stay without being caught by slave owners.
The Underground Railroad was, in this country, the first civil rights movement. It was the first time, in a major way, that blacks and whites came together toward a common goal. They showed tremendous courage. They showed cooperation. And most importantly, they showed what was important to this country, the quest for freedom.
In order for the Underground Railroad to be successful, African Americans and Caucasians encountered each other on many occasions. William Steele is a famous African American conductor. Steele's father brought his freedom in 1798. He was known as the father of the Underground Railroad. He interviewed slaves and kept records of their personal information in order to reconnect families once they escaped. If a conductor was caught assisting slaves to escape, they too could be punished. Punishments for conductors of the railroad vary on race and gender. White women received a large fine and or jail time. White men faced large fines, imprisonment, and or whippings. African Americans aiding enslaved fugitives often faced dozens of lashes with a whip, being burned, tarred, or even hung. Levi Coffin was a white American Quaker. He was born in the South and grew a strong opposition to slavery as a minor. Coffin was known as the president of the Underground Railroad. His home is often referred to as the Grand Station of the Underground Railroad. Coffin provided food, clothes, education, and money to freed slaves. To maintain the secrecy, helpers of the Underground Railroad used the terminology railroad conductors would use. Conductors were the people in charge of moving the refugees from station to station. Stations were the places, such as businesses or houses, where the refugees rested and ate food. These stations were run by the station masters. The passengers were the runaway slaves. Stockholders were people who donated money and goods, such as food and clothes. Fugitives that were expected were referred to as bundles of wood. Flying bondsmen were the number of escaping slaves. The Underground Railroad was referred to as the Gospel Train. Harriet Tubman was referred to as Moses. In the Bible, Moses led the Israelites out of slavery.
I thought I told you to stay in the North.
God had a different plan. Where's Mama?
They moved her off the plantation, Shantytown.
You all right?
They whipped me good at it. I'll never keep up with you. Just go.
God didn't send me to fail. There's gotta be a way.
The most famous conductor of the Underground Railroad was Harriet Tubman. Tubman was born in Maryland in 1820 to enslaved parents. She escaped in 1849. Tubman decided to flee in this year following a bout of illness and the death of her owner. Tubman reportedly made 19 return trips to the South and helped about 300 slaves escape. Out of her 19 trips, Tubman never lost anyone or let anyone go back. Her tactic in doing this was to use a shotgun to threaten people who wanted to go back. Slave owners would reward $40,000 for her capture. In today's money, that is the equivalent of $500,000. Born into slavery, Douglass became a famous abolitionist. When he was 12, he was taught to read by his owner's wife. His owner forbade these lessons, but Douglass continued to read and write from other white children. Through reading, Douglass acquired his dislike for slavery, and after his 2 failed attempts, Douglass succeeded in escaping. He went on to become famous for his speeches on slavery. If the runaway was not captured or abducted on the travel to the north, the fugitive slave became a living testimony to the events that took place on the plantations.
There's another river on follow